Welcome to Mama Toto Docs.
I'm Dr. Martha, the pediatrician.
And I'm Dr. Lisa, the obstetrician. And today we'll be talking about child mental health in a nutshell. So, Dr. Martha, you can start us off.
Mental health in children is a field that is rapidly evolving. By definition, it's when a child, based on their age, has a disorder in either their thinking or their behavior or their social skills or how they handle their emotions. So it affects all those four major facets. It may be a bit difficult to diagnose, both for parents and even doctors. So a lot of the times, especially for children under 3, we'll need to do a lot of follow-up to see what exactly is happening. Disruptions in their behavior or their thinking or how they interact with other children has to be disruptive to the child. Like it has to really have affected the child or their family setup or their schooling. Because if we were to talk about disruptions in behavior, things like tantrums are normal.
Yeah.
They can upset the child, but they won't necessarily be debilitating to the child. The child will still function normally, will still be eating well, sleeping well. So that's where we make that distinction from. And there are many types of mental health disorders that affect children. Things like anxiety disorders can affect children, mood disorders, they can get depression. But commonly what I'll maybe just talk a bit about is autism. And what we know as autism spectrum disorder, and what are some of the signs that you can look for.
Yeah.
So in autism spectrum disorder, it's characterized by disorder in language development, and social skills. So you find a lot of the time, these children, when you call out their name, they won't respond to you. In a social setup with other children, they tend to play alone or just be in their own world, playing with their own things. They may also have some repetitive behavior they do, or stereotypes. So you find like maybe it's like hand flapping or just repetitive things they do subconsciously, like you'll just find the child doing them over and over again. And then in terms of speech delay, they'll also have that. So you find that normally we say like at 1 year, you want the child to be saying one-word phrases.
Right.
Yeah. And by 2 years, they should be able to construct sentences with two-word phrases. They're still babbling, but at least there should be a way of communication. So if you find like by 2 years, your child is not communicating by using those two-word phrases, and there's speech delay, and then is also a bit socially withdrawn, doesn't want to maintain eye contact, prefers to be alone, doesn't want to interact with other children. Those are some of the signs that you can look for as a parent, and when you see them, you have to bring them in for an assessment because they're signs of autism. Yeah. I don't know if you've had any experience or exposure or thought on it.
I mean, in terms of thoughts, just as a parent, it's just, So do we look at, is it just one of the signs? So for example, they're not social, or it's just speech delay and you bring them? Or do you is there a way that you add all of them together and say, okay, they have this and this and this, so I believe they have.
That's a
autism.
Good question. Because personalities of children are also very different. So just because your child prefers to play alone, but when they're with you, they'll maintain eye contact, they'll say mama, dada, they'll play with their siblings. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have autism. So we try to sort of look at all the signs. And then, as we've said, it's a spectrum. So that means there are some who are more affected than others. But if you're feeling like your child has a delay in any way, be it the language or even the social interaction, it's always good to seek advice. And we have you can see a pediatrician, you can also see a developmental specialist who can advise on what can be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where do we find these, let's say, developmental specialists, or is it the pediatrician who refers people there? Or is the pediatrician enough to deal with that?
So ideally, the best thing is to start with a pediatrician so that at least we can. And basically, when we say you should have general checkups with your pediatrician, is because we are able to assess your milestones, the milestones of your child. And we're able to pick if there's a speech delay, if there are any issues that are coming up early, so that we can refer now early to the developmental pediatricians. But they're available. There are few, but there are some available in Nairobi.
Okay. And I mean, children with autism, they still can, function, even if it's the more severe autism. There are still programs for them, therapies, support groups.
So usually early diagnosis is key. So when they are caught early, there are a lot of interventions that can be done to help these children. There's cognitive behavioral therapy. There are specific therapies that are tailored to ASD.
Okay.
So they can make great strides.
Okay.
And there are even curriculums that are built for children with autism. So there's a lot of resources. And now because there's a lot of awareness, I think because more parents are aware of these signs, and there's a lot of awareness going on even in social media, like more and more children are getting diagnosed. So it's a good thing because now there are more opportunities for them.
Okay, that's good.
A question I get asked is, how can you tell if your child has a mental health disorder? So we've talked about any disruptions the child may have, and this is in their functioning. So this includes their sleep, their eating habits, their general routines. So for example, if you find your child is not sleeping well at night, for a child maybe who has been potty trained, they start now regressing in their milestones. For a child who would normally have a good appetite, they start for some reason or the other not feeding well. Those can be telltale signs of mental health illness if you've excluded disease, because sometimes illness can make you lose appetite.
For sure.
And usually it can happen around stressful events that have happened around that time. So like maybe there's a death in the family or some stressor in the family. The child can react that way. Another important thing we look at is their school performance. Like, how are they doing in school? Have they dropped in performance? Is there a change like in their handwriting? Are they regressing in their reading and their arithmetic? Maybe they were able to read full sentences. Now they're only reading half. And then also for school going children, they can just wake up and tell you they're not going to school. Sometimes you need to see, are they just trying to avoid going to school, or is there a bigger problem? You know, things like bullying in school can cause great stress to children. So when a child is anxious, those are some of the things you'll see when they have anxiety. If in the case of depression, you'll also note their sadness, and maybe they may cry a lot, they may be withdrawn, loss of appetite, just not wanting to be around people. So it's very important to be aware of your child's normal behavior, their normal mood swings, their normal routines, so that if you note that there's a change in any of those, you'll be able to address it earlier. And then we've also talked about there are other mental health illnesses that can occur, especially if there's like a family history. So things like schizophrenia. So if like you have a family history of schizophrenia, especially early onset, something we call juvenile schizophrenia. That's the one that presents maybe in their teenage years. It's something to be aware about. It can happen. Things like PTSD can also happen. So again, any stressful events that happen around the child, be they related to family factors or external factors, even things like terrorism, they can affect the child at that level. So it's very important to be aware of those. ADHD is also something we're seeing really frequently. A lot of these disorders tend to come to light when the children start going to preschool.
Right. Yeah.
So when they start preschool at age 3, that's when they're able to be picked up, especially by the teachers. So like for ADHD, you'll find that this child is very hyperactive, cannot sit still, cannot concentrate on one task.
Yeah.
For a prolonged period of time. So that's why I said there are variable ways of looking at it, because generally also children, it's hard for you to maintain their attention span on doing one thing.
Yeah.
But then again, if it is disruptive to functioning, like you cannot even pass a message across, you can't teach this child, that's when it becomes a problem.
So an extreme.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'd say generally about mental health disorders in children.
Okay.
So you need to be aware of what your normal is for your child, and then to be aware when you see some variation.
Yes.
And it's always good to seek an opinion if you think there's something going on with the child, especially in terms of regression of milestones, change in their usual routines, that's their sleeping, their feeding, their waking schedules, and then school performance. Once they start going to school, it's really important to see how they're doing, because sometimes they may feel like there are things that are stressing them and they may not even know how to express it.
Yeah, that's true.
So we need to create safe spaces for our children to sort of let them want to share and tell us what is happening. Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Just one more thing. I've heard about like external risk factors for something like autism, really. Is that true in terms of even just junk food or the food that they eat? I've had such things that can be a risk factor for autism.
Yeah. The exact cause of autism has not been found. There are some research and studies that have shown it could be related even to genetics. Other times there may be some environmental factors, but generally it's in a large number of cases it's unknown. But genetics may have a role. So if like there's a family history of autism, it may occur. And environmental factors that sort of worsen, not really cause. There are some dietary factors. So like research has shown things like sugar and gluten may sort of worsen signs of autism. Not necessarily cause it. So it's always good, when in doubt, just be reviewed and have that analysis done. So that was my nutshell summary of mental health disorders in children. If you have any questions or feedback, let us know. And continue to subscribe and share and like our content.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.